Before the start of deliberations today, let me have the privilege, as the President of NISSMAT, to introduce this international institution. NISSMAT was established in the year 1990 and initially conducted training courses in the field of private security, safety, security management, and technology. It has now become a think tank organization with an association of more than 90 scholars and experts. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure our session today shall be of great interest to you all. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to a very interesting contemporary subject, that is the Indo-France relationship. A few words on this. Relationship between India and France dates back to the 17th century. In the 17th century, there's a French doctor who came as a personal physician to the emperor of Mughal emperor. Thereafter, a couple of French generals came into being, and they started be in league with the principalities of South India and helping them in their wars. There's been a very close relationship between the French and the Sikhs. Maharaja Ranjit Singh had over 2,000 French soldiers in his army. And coming closer to it, during the First and the Second World War, the Indian troops had a very major role towards the defense of France. Coming to the present times, there have been a number of very frequent visits between our leaders and that of France. The key visit was in 1998, when President Chirac came and signed the strategic agreement with India. In 2008, President Sarkozy came as the chief guest for the Republic Day parade. In 2009, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh made a visit to France. And he was also the chief guest for the Bastille Day celebration, in which 400 Indian troops took part. In 2010, there's a December 2010, second visit was of President Sarkozy. In 2013 and 2016, President Hollande made visits to India along with his cabinet ministers. In 2015 and 2015, April and November, Prime Minister Modi made 2 visits to France. In 2018, President Macron also visited, and in 2023, in July 2023, this year, our Prime Minister was the chief guest for the Bastille Day, in which our 3 contingents of the armed forces along with the band had taken part. France has played a very major role to support India, in the sense that they've always been a support to India in the United Nations Security Council towards India's concerns. So a very strong relationship we have built with France over a period of time that was from 17th century to now. There's a small write-up, a rundown on France. Coming down to, we have a very illustrious speaker on this net. It is Maj Gen SVP Singh, VSM, that's Vishisht Seva Medal. Maj Gen SVP Singh is a alumni of a famous Rashtriya Indian Military College, Indian Military Academy. He was commissioned into the Regiment of Artillery in 1970. He's seen the War of 1971. He has worked at the conceptual and directional level in all the ranks that he's held, be it on staff, instructional, and also operational aspects. He commanded the regiment in Punjab during the height of insurgency. He commanded a brigade in a very big military station. And he was controlling the artillery in an operational area, and also has done a staff appointment at the Army headquarters in the field of artillery. He has attended very prestigious courses of the Army, that is, the Defense Services Staff College at Wellington, the College of Defense Management, and also the National Defense Academy, National Defense Course, NDC. He, after retirement, he had done an advanced course on the management programs. It's the strategic management. He's done independent director's course. He has done the media course and also disaster management. For his distinguished service of close to 40 years, he has been awarded the Vishish Seva Medal. Sir, now to start with you, though we have had a very strong relationship with France, the strategic relationship, what are the basic tenets of the strategic relationship?
General Mehta, thank you very much. I would now take on the major components of our strategic relationship with France are defense, space, civil nuclear energy. These are the three pillars, but accompanied are also climate, economic, your trade, and likewise, so our cultural bonds, which are there, which take roots from the French colonization which took place in places, the erstwhile Pondicherry, Puducherry, and then, Mahe and Chandranagar, where they were there. But it has to be to the credit of India that it put the colonization behind the historical back burner. Same thing with Great Britain and France, and took forward relations post-independent India. Now, here I would like to say that our relations with France post-independence, they took off on like a springboard. In early 50s was the first time when this relationship started cementing. If you recall, we had what we call the Tufani aircrafts, which was the Oregon of the French.
Okay.
H.S. Malik was the ambassador to France, and he was the one who engineered this along with our MOD and the French MOD. And they came to us, 71 of them, I think within about a year and a half. Also, at this time, Nehru, he had the vision. He sent Homi Bhabha to France, and we got the atomic cooperation going along with France. Now, these are two very major steps. If France gave us these aircrafts, and France was little vulnerable, how India's relations with UK are, and whether they should go ahead with that. But I think UK cooperated and France gave us those aircrafts. Now, alongside, somewhere in 70s, it is 1974, I will say, is the first watershed year after this 1954 deal. And what was that? Our nuclear test of 1974. Pompidou was the French president, and he put aside that nuclear test, did not impose any sanctions, and supported India. Very major move to bond the two nations. Next, 1982, Francois Mitterrand, when he came, we went in for the Mirage deals. And then you have spoken about the 1998 Dr. Chirac's visit, which set the strategic partnership in order. And here I want to tell you, though we related with the nuclear test of 1998, when sanctions were imposed by all the Western nations, less France, and of course, Russia. The strategic partnership took roots in 1998 January, whereas the nuclear blast took place in 1998 May. So that means the relationship was on a high pedestal at that time. And I think the actual formal agreement was signed between Vajpayee and Chirac somewhere in September 1998. Now, that goes to the credit of both the nations. And likewise, you have covered Sarkozy visit and, Hollande visit. When Hollande came in 2016, he came with a large delegation. He was accompanied by his foreign minister, finance minister, the minister for economics affairs. So it was a very large delegation and number of agreements took place. There's been an element of fascination between the Indian leaders and the French leaders, which has led to continuity of 70 plus years of our relationship. It has not seen the typical ups and downs or, moving by knee-jerk action. It has been on a stable road, smooth road. Now, let us see the latest situation, how it has crystallized. And the man who has come to lead France, Emmanuel Macron, I will put him as a visionary leader which France has got. A young man from whom Prime Minister Modi was fascinated. As he came to power, I think he was on a Russian visit and he said, I will be visiting France. It was off the record. And the Foreign Secretary of India then, the current Foreign Minister Jai Shankar, rung up the ambassador to say that he's coming to France. And he replied, the ambassador, Mr. Mohan Kumar, that, he's been just president for 1 month. He said, that's okay. Why Prime Minister Modi went there? He had read the life of Macron and he was fascinated. He wanted to meet this young man as he spoke about him. And that chemistry has taken forward to a high level, a very high platform, our relationship. Now, I would say, what has Macron done? 2017. He came, firstly, I put, with a vision for Europe. And what did he say? He wanted to have 6 key actions which Europe should take. And he gave a message. People were surprised. That is security guarantees, he put, the migration challenges, then the Mediterranean and Africa, he put it on a priority basis. He said we should have sustainable development. And he said innovation and regulation in the digitization world. And then lastly, he said that Europe should stand up as an economic and monetary power. It was a great message. A little later, he came out with another doctrine for Europe, which has perhaps not crystallized, and that was joint intervention forces, the defense joint intervention forces. He wanted an integrated European defense forces. How he had that part, I will not be able to comment because there was a NATO going already. And then he said there should be a joint budget and a joint doctrine on that. So he said we should create a European defense fund and integration of our armed forces. Now, this man has that vision. Why I have covered this is, I come now to 2018. When he came to India, he mentioned about the Indo-Pacific. Till 2016, France national security and strategy which was there catered for security of Asia Pacific. And here, 2018 document said Indo-Pacific. And then somewhere in Australia, he gave a formal talk in which he said that France looks upon itself to play its cards as a world power. Now, this is Macron. And that is how from Indo-Ocean strategy cooperation with India, it came down to Indo-Pacific security strategy. Now, where does this put India? What is France's interest? You see, France counts itself, and rightly so, I would say, in support of France as an Indian Ocean nation. It is one nation today which has 10 overseas territories cutting across 3 oceans: the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean. And in the Indian Ocean, it starts from the east coast of Africa, the Reunion Islands, and it goes to the west, to the India's east, farthermost, those Caledonian Islands. which is through the Malacca Straits. And so this great sense of security strategic doctrine, which Macron has emphasized, is because firstly, it counts itself as a territory. It has got the second largest exclusive economic zone in the world in terms of territory. So it has its own inherent ridges. And for India, these territories, which are there in the Indian Ocean and somewhere in the Pacific as well, has got the Indian cultural roots. The Indian diaspora, I would say, exists there, which counts towards Indo-France closer relationship.
Actually,
So
he's actually, sorry for intervening, sir. His interest, as what I see in the Indo-Pacific area, is because of his reunion and Mayotte Islands. He has his bases there. And the way Chinese are expanding in the Pacific and also coming into the IOR, Indian Ocean region, France has now planned to send the ships into the IOR. Am I right, sir?
Yes, absolutely. You see, Deepak, it's like this, that our cooperation with France, the three pillars which I mentioned, in defense, it is cutting across all three services, Army, Navy, Air Force. And we are holding exercises. When you're saying the ships, the naval exercises Varuna series, you know, the General de Gaulle aircraft carrier has taken part. You know, France has military bases in Djibouti and as well as in the UAE. So, you know, so India feels secure for its Indian Ocean security and collective cooperation of secure sea lanes in strategic partnership with France. And here I want to emphasize that our relationship with France from the three pillars is based on, firstly, both countries advocate and practice strategic autonomy. They practice their own permanent interests and manage it very well. Thirdly, there is a great, deep mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and domestic issues. Non-interference is strictly followed. Now, that's a very key word I'm saying. We respect each other's domestic policies. We don't interfere in that. And there are no strings attached, really speaking, between Indo-France relationship. And thirdly is that we are looking at our democratic principles to be practiced and democracy to flourish. And so China, which you said is a factor, for India, China has done the pearl of strings in South Asia. And with French, and I will put in USA, the partnerships, strategy, security to India, it doesn't look for a physical presence of these countries, but it gives them a great security protection, which is a very big thing for India as it marches towards becoming to be counted among the great powers. Today, I would say people are talking about a quadrilateral powers, which says Russia, America, China, India. I would say it is quintet, and that is quintet. I say France. France is a very major nation today. It's a defense powerhouse. It is a science and technology powerhouse. It is Europe's second largest economy. Germany has 29.2% of the GDP. France is 20.2%. So it is this thing. And Franco-German partnership is leading the way. And India looks forward to France for Indo-European relations to move forward. There have been some hiccups, and France is the one which will manage India well, as India will look forward to take these relationships.
So may I also add one or two more points regarding to this strategic partnership, which is 25 years old now, is that it helps India to get self-reliant in the field of defense industry and also technical base. That is one. That's a very major thing, because I think India is developing, no, working towards that end. Secondly, we are short of power. As you mentioned, that we have a relationship in terms of nuclear power generation. I think they're helping us to build low and medium level power modules for generation of power. They have the reactors they're making. So they have a very major role to play in our economy also and our development.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. You see, you touched upon this nuclear aspect. Our nuclear cooperation also has been very close. The CNES of France and the ISRO have had good cooperation. That is the space part. But the nuclear part of it is the nuclear reactors. When Manmohan Singh went to France in 2009, it was agreed that 6 nuclear reactors would be set up in India, and that is the Jaitapur area. Now, they are to be the world's largest nuclear reactor as identified on paper. I'm touching it here itself, though I will cover it later, that this has really not taken off. And this is one of the weak spots in the taking forward of Indo-French cooperation. Now, there are certain issues. First is the technology issue, the EPR of France, of Europe. We have to be able to absorb that technological capability, and France is ready to give us this. You see, all these things which are taking place with France, Indians have to have the capacities and capabilities to absorb those technologies. Now, second part is that there are certain domestic issues in India. Land acquisition, the political infighting, I would say, which has not let this Jaitapur plant take forward. If 6 nuclear reactors come, I'll cast your mind, we have 7 from Russia. We have an agreement with Japan of all the countries for 3 nuclear reactors. If all these things take place, India is on board to be a surplus electricity supplier. There'll be no coal issues and there'll be no pollution issues. Our politicians have to fall in line to provide that way forward. So this is the way I'll put on this about the electricity part you have said. India, I feel, is on board. It's sitting on the cusp. We have to only take forward our internal decisions to get the nuclear reactors going.
Right. Now, you very correctly said, sir, that the technology base and the transfer of technology which takes place, firstly, we have to have the capability to take it on and on. Now, I think it meets the requirement of the Prime Minister for the horizon of 2047. And what are the major issues which come into being in this case, sir?
You see, there was a lot of media hype building up for almost a year that Modi's visit, when it comes about, he was invited as the guest of honor, the chief guest for the Bastille Day, which combined with the 25 years of strategic partnership with France. So this Horizon 2047 sets up India next 25 years and 100 years of independence and also 100 years of Indo-French relationship in post-independent India. Now, certain agreements which we thought are going to take place have not been mentioned in what has been said, the roadmap or the Indo-France joint agreement. There has been no joint communique. It's unique that way. So I think all these are there so that there's a high degree of flexibility retained by the two countries. Both countries also have a domestic audience and they must attend to that. Macron has come to power last year. India is to see elections next year. And government-to-government deals which are taking place. In India, the opposition may have had an opportunity to capture those as a gunning point And I think the Indian government has been wise enough to put it on course for the next 25 years. And during this time, our financial dealings, the deal itself has to have the costing done, and what other flexibilities come, they will help us. So what I will say, that this agreement which has taken place, the core ones which we were expecting, firstly is the Rafale Maritime, the Marine Force, 26 quantity. I think that's on course. The costing will come out, but it's a government-to-government deal. There's no question. India needs it. India tested the F-A Hornets, 18, MiG-29s, and now, and also the Rafales. And the Navy recommended the Rafales. There may have been, or there may be pressure from USA for this thing, but I think India will stand its ground with France. And
So
this Rafale 26.
so they are there to help us. I was reading somewhere that France has committed to say that they're going to give us 34 million euros by 2030. Out of this 34 million euros, 30 billion will go towards subsidies, and 4 billion will be going towards funding the schemes. If this happens, of course, presently they were hoping that the economy will, the trade between the two countries will increase. It is increasing in small numbers, but not as much as it was thought of. And if this happens, 34 billion euros is a lot of money in the next 9 years. And if it happens, I think it's going to give big impetus to the industry of India.
Absolutely. You see, now we're combining our talk with issues as far as this 34 billion euros is concerned. It puts India on a very firm footing with France. And not only in the defense part of it, or the three pillars, also I would say our Indian business leaders and the investments which are going to take place, there's a great flip which emerges from that. You've spoken about trade. I think we are number 7 with France, whereas we are the largest with the United States. $12 billion with France is the trade. I think coming on to $15 billion, it has been achieved. Whereas with the United States, the figure is $192 billion. So, there's almost 15 times the difference. But that is not the only issue which dictates strategic partnership. It is the meeting of the minds and taking forward the issues without strings attached. So that is the major thing. And so I think that what you mentioned is very, very positive action on the road of our Indo-French relationship.
I mean, that is what you had mentioned in between also, sir, that this strategic relationship that we have with France is a very strong bonding for the 21st century. And the way the development and the way the money, this money is going to be coming in, and the trade increasing by the year, I think it's going to have a very major impact. What do you feel are the challenges for India in its relationship with France, sir?
See, the challenges, you see what happens, that it is firstly, the convergence is on multipolar world, multilateralism.
Correct.
And in that multilateralism, unipolarity gets relegated, but then multilateralism gives you flexibility to maintain relations with other nations. So challenges for India, Indo-France are that France looks forward to a cooperative relationship with China. Macron's recent visit to China, even he has given a blow to the Americans and the NATO nations, saying that we should not look towards Taiwan. Macron has also said that NATO office in Japan, we will not cooperate on that because it's an Atlantic alliance. So he is France has always been able to put a spanner or oppose. To recall to you the standing of France, 1966, General Charles de Gaulle withdrew the military part of NATO partnership. It is only in 2009 they came. But there's a paradox in that. Yet, in the Gulf War I and the Gulf War II, France was a participant along with the NATO nations. Notwithstanding that, this is one challenge. One thing good for India, France is not a member of the border, BRI, which China has projected, but they have got another Indo-French China collaboration in this regard, but it's independent. That is one. Second, I will say, you see, relationships change, permanent interests remain the same. At one time, Pakistan had been supplied defense equipment by France in mid-60s, mid-70s. You may remember the Mirage aircrafts were there, the Augusta submarines, the Exocet missiles. They also had these Elbit helicopters, which we also had. So, it is only when India had reservations, when the strategic partnership was going forward, that from post-1998, France has not had any defense supplies to Pakistan. But yet they have some nuclear civil cooperation with Pakistan as well. And that's fair enough. Every nation has to do. Now, third is that challenge is France also needs something from India. So they need support for the Indo-Ocean, Indo-Pacific, as I mentioned. So for their territories. So India has given them the support in that challenge. France is now a member of the Indian Ocean Nations, conclave, the organization, the Indian Ocean region. They have also participating in the naval exercises of the naval powers, which takes place. So that part of it, the two major issues are these. I would say the China factor, the Pakistan factor, which India has to safeguard. And now another aspect has come about in this strategic partnership of bilateral relations, the trilateral aspect. You see, there has been a trilateral meeting of India, UAE, and France. Even, and my understanding is there was a high level of exchanges prior to Modi's visit of the three. So they would be doing, because UAE, France has got a military base. At the same time, there also been a trilateral involvement of India, France, and Australia. So you see, now this is, now these challenges India has to manage, because India is part of the Quad also. France is not part of Quad. There is AUKUS which has come up, and France is not part of AUKUS. There was a stab in the back jointly by the US and the Australians on France when the submarine deal fell through, and Australia went in for the nuclear submarine, which gave birth to the AUKUS. And France was very upset. But France, France, because of China, has not participated in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. It is not part of the American treaties or alliances which are taking place in the Indo-Pacific, South China, and likewise. So that suits India because our strategic autonomy is there. So I think the challenges will remain, and challenges, of course, for both nations is to keep all the accords and agreements on a stable platform and not let it become transactional in any manner, which I'm afraid with United States, that sort of Damocles does hang over our heads.
That's the next question I want to ask you. Now, for one thing, sir, what you mentioned about the alliances, as you had mentioned the last meeting that we had, the changing dynamics of warfare, it was very clearly brought out by you that the future is based on alliances. Now, you have mentioned alliance with the Australia, alliance with US, alliance with a number of countries. So I think this is going to stay for some time. And the alliance with France is an important facet for us. Now, How do you compare the recent Indo-US and Indo-France deal, sir?
Okay, I think that's a very live question because it weighs on the minds of the Indians, on the strategic think tanks also. If I had to just compare, let's take first the Indo-US, the GEF 414 engines, the deal which was signed. There's a lot of hoo-ha in India that, the TOT will be coming, co-development and co-production. I'm afraid there's nothing of that sort which is on the cards, and it will not be there for at least next 20 years. It is my own personal opinion. You see, what America is giving us in this is the 98 KN engines, which is single engine, and that is going to meet your requirement for the Tejas Mark II.
Correct.
But they're going to come in CKD, complete knockdown kit. They're going to be assembly here. So we have to be very clear. But also is there 108 KN, kilonewton engines, which are going to come, which are twin engines, and which are there for our MCA, Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, our doctrine for that.
Yes.
Yes. So that is there. But again, in that, there is no TOT, there is no co-development, and there is no co-production. And there's a reason for it. You see, firstly, India should be very proud, and the Prime Minister's played his cards very well. The first non-NATO nation to get this sort of deal from United States is a great, great step forward. Now, in this, why Americans don't want to give? You see, they're private companies. They say we have put in 25, 30 years of our research and development, trillions of dollars we have put in, and we are not going to give it away as a gift to someone, It's a basic, I'm putting it in very simple terms. Now, let us come to the engine agreement, which is there with the Safran of the France. This is 110 kilonewton agreement, which is going to take us forward. Again, twin engine, new engines. It is largely with TOT. I'm qualifying my word, largely with TOT, maybe 60% to begin with.
That's
very
fantastic.
Big step.
Fantastic. Very big step.
Yeah.
Absolutely, sir.
Combined with co-development, combined with co-production, combined with MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul. It's a very great step.
Oh, yes.
So there's a little edge. So here there's an edge to what our deal with Safran is taking place. Again, for our MCA. There's an edge over USA. And listen, running close to the heels of Russia, who has always given us TOT, they've given us MRO, space and things. We are a little dependent upon them still. But, very close to Russia. No country parts with TOT like this. So I think this is that. So this is one. And second, I would say, is the Artemis aspect, the space agreement. We're here also, with France. I would say that they're both independent of this thing. Artemis is the one where astronaut will go and to the moon. It's related with the moon, and India looks forward to sending next year or by 2025 latest astronaut along with America. Great achievement, great move forward. The lunar resources, minerals, cooperation, whatever we can get, and let's hope, let's pray together that this Chandrayaan 3 lands up on 23rd August. Bang on, blessings of God are required. And I pray also we beat Russia here, maybe even by a minute to land there. So that'll be great in the South Pole of Moon. Now, here with France, our this space program has been on a even keel. We have cooperation with them in the Gaganyaan, where we want to again put the space, this thing. So that's a very big thing. Then France has given us the ability to set up Sri Harikota Center, satellite launches and all. If you remember, before this, we were launching our satellites. At least 20 of them were launched from that French island.
Caribbean,
Yeah,
Caribbean Sea, yes, right. Yeah.
yeah. So so there's been a lot of cooperation. Today, I think France can also ask India to launch from our Sriharikota. Now, that's the cooperation which is there in the civil in the civil space part of it. So that is another one. You see, if you compare the Predator, this drones which are coming, it is again the same situation as the GE 414 engines. It is just a sale to us.
Okay.
There is no, and incidentally, let me tell you, 2035 is what the American Defense Pentagon decided that the Predator will be phased out there, but it will continue its production with others. And they're coming up with a new thing. And even this 5 and 5.5 generation aircrafts which we are talking of, let me tell you that France, Germany, and Spain are also working on the 6th generation fighter aircrafts. And their Rafale also will be phased out by 2040. So what happens is that we get a little spot below, but this spot below is taking, if we combine and synergize our Atmanirbhar defense, it is taking us forward. Because Atmanirbhar defense, next 20 years, we will be still somewhere, on the mid-course of achieving. And this big ticket deals which have taken place both with America and France are very wise moves, so that China factor is then dealt with. China also has fear from Europe and America of sanctions. China can collapse. I repeat, they can collapse if maximum sanctions are imposed like they were imposed on Russia. And here, when you compare Russia and China, Russia has an advantage. Contrary to the belief of people, Russia is largely self-sustaining, and the Ukraine war has proved to the world that they have means to sustain their economy and march on. Their defense production line will never cease.
They are selling,
NATO is at
uranium.
their wits' end. NATO is their wits' end. They're giving away all the equipment. Now they're giving away in quantities 2, 3, like that, So ammunition manufacturing capability is not there to develop it. Russia is sitting. And here I will just mention, there are 4 visionary leaders in the world today. And our Prime Minister, rated number 1, he has done a tremendous job in international affairs.
Yes.
And second is Macron. You have heard my views on him. Thirdly is Putin himself. He knows what he's doing for his nation. He knows what he has to do with his Western powers, the Slavic people versus the Anglo-Saxon. His aim is very clear, to be on the high table. And fourthly is a ugly neighbor, I will say, China's Xi Jinping. These are visionary leaders who are working for their nation, taking them forward. And to have India in this portrait, I think we can feel a great sense of pride as the Independence Day comes up on 15th.
Also, one more question I have to ask you. We have very close strategic relationship both with France, as you mentioned, and also with the US. Because we have member of Quad, we're getting a lot of inputs from US also. So it's a very major aspect as a balancing strategic relationship both with France as well as with the US. Sir. What do you have to say on that?
I agree with you. I think India is also sitting at the fulcrum of that 2 ends of the the seesaw. We are in the fulcrum. Strategic partnership with USA, strategic partnership with France, both Indo-Pacific powers, both, looking forward to join hands against China, though France on a low key. But India is well aware, as I said, that Americans are transactional in their relationship. I'm using a lighter word. Anytime the Congress can pass a bill, which CAATSA, we have got an exception for the S-400 SAM systems from Russia. So that sort of CAATSA is again a sword of Damocles.
Yes.
And US Congress can turn around 180 degrees. That same situation is not with France. We are on a very even keel with them. Our 70 years of relationship speaks for it. And the leadership of both countries speaks for it. So, and both sides, France has different parties coming to power. And India, now we have seen, whether it was the Congress or whether it was the BJP, both governments have been very clear to be on a stable relationship with France. And whatever has developed with US post 1998, when Clinton gave the vision for the 21st Indo-US relationship and taken forward by George Bush Jr. and then Obama, very stable relationship moving forward. It has taken time with the US to understand each other. US has now understood India, that India will move in its own space. So they don't talk about a relationship with Russia. They have accepted that India will this thing. So, and Russia, even you take France, second most important defense partner today. Well, India, France also doesn't look forward to replace Russia. Russia, time-tested strategic partnership. I mentioned about S-400, the nuclear submarine Arihant. Look at the support they gave us, And not only that, we are talking of this AMCA. There is also that heavy lift helicopters, IMHR or something which we call it, in which you're looking for engines again from Safran. And we are thinking that, Mi-17, these Mi-17s of Russia will just go away. Let me tell you, we are holding 362 Mi-17s in our inventory. They are going to be around next 20 years. And that is how the defense pipeline moves. If you are getting the Safran coming, this much time will be the gestation period. So our relationship with Russia will remain. And I'm telling you, South Pole moon landing, they're going to be another strategic partnership of Indo-Russian partnership, interplanetary, I would say, because South Pole both will claim the resources there and both can make billions of dollars there.
So actually, we have a very major aspect in terms of maintaining relationship with US, with France, and also with Russia. So it is a very major job, and I think Mr. Shankar is doing a tremendous job on that factor. And one last question, sir. Last question. How do you perceive the cultural and soft power as amongst the core of India-French ties?
I think it's a very important question, because people to people cohesiveness makes the difference. If the leaders today on their personal equation are taking nations forward alongside statecraft, two pillars of diplomatic relationship in Modi's concept, personal to personal and statecraft, government to government. Now, same way, people to people of two countries, the power of the diaspora, America, Indo-Americans, they provide us that power to India. In France, we have to build up. We got only about 110,000 of the diaspora in France. This has to build up. This is one. Second, I would say, is the students. Well, America is about 30 times higher. We got about 10,000 students coming. Now we're looking forward another 20,000, 25,000 come. But there's a little issue there. What is the issue? The language. Our students who go there,
coming to that, sir.
The French language is the one which they have to bear with it. But you see, still, the French and the Indian and French are very fond of each other culturally. They are non-Anglo-Saxons. They are the Celtic and the Latin, accompanied with a very mix of African ethnic this thing. And they also, that's why, have problems which we have, if I have to touch upon ethnic. So that's a very important thing in the cultural part of it. Secondly, I will say the French are also as sentimental and emotional as the Indians are. Sure. And they respect a lot of this part of relationship. In the soft core, I would say, look, what has the UPI done? Universal Payment Interface, which has come about. It has been accepted by France. Look at the acceptance of this digitization system engineered by India somewhere in 2016. It started, it's 7 years old. More than 10 countries today accepting it. I won't be surprised when the USA will have to fall in line with the Indo-Americans there. The UPI will be there. So what happens? It is saving you some kitty because you're having rupees go there. There's no taxation on that. Now, so I think this has also not talked about. A very major achievement of the Prime Minister's visit to France to get the UPI going there. Then, we have got such cultural events, the film world part of it. We are holding each other's pavilions there for our cultural upliftment. Book fairs are taking place in the two countries, which are taking us forward. So, all this, I repeat, people-to-people cohesion is taking place. And that's, again, a very positive thing. There is no issues between the Indo-French people on, there's a strong liking for each other. We are very fond of the French people. We know it.
So thank you very much. I think a very illuminating talk that you've given us. You've given a lot of insight to the Indo-French relationship that we have had. I think this relationship should be done us very good in both in strategic terms, in the various aspects of strategy, the defense, nuclear, energy, space, as you mentioned, security, both cyber, counter-terrorism, and also in the intelligence sharing. I think sorry, sir.
Would you allow me to say a word?
Yes, sir.
You see, in this, we missed out in our discussion the Scorpino submarines. You see, sir, the 6 of them are now on road, which we had the P-75, and now 3 of them are perhaps in the pipeline. You see, the visibility of this Indo-French agreement is still to emerge. Even the Indo-US deals, it's going to take 2 to 3 months for the deals to be signed. It can even take a little longer. And then this fine print will tell us the true story.
Thank you very much, sir. And very kind of you to have spared the time for this talk. I've learned a lot. Thank you very much, sir.
It is always mutual, and I must thank NISSMAT.